Hi everyone. If you're like me, you clicked on this video because it is really hard to find information about the PHR California. I know. When I was getting ready to take the exam, I noticed there weren't very many books on Amazon. There weren't a lot of YouTube videos. I'm seeing much more now. But there just wasn't a lot of information on how to pass this exam, how to prepare for it. So I thought I'd make one. So I am going to share with you today some of the tips that I used and developed to help myself pass the PHR California. So hi, my name is Alicia Pascal Davis, and I am a practitioner of human resources. I've been in the field for over a decade with over 20 years of leadership experience, and I'm also the founder of Alicia Davis HR Consulting, where I help small businesses and HR professionals thrive in their careers, whether it be through strategic HR consulting or helping prep for the credential exams. I actually have the SHRM-CP, the SCP, the SPHR, the PHR, and the PHR California, so I know a thing or two about how to pass these exams. So if you see me looking down, I have notes to share today. And also, in addition to these notes, you'll be able to go on my website and just download free tips. So if you don't capture everything from this video, no worries. I have a tip sheet that's absolutely free on my website. So the first thing you want to do when you're preparing to take the PHR California is look at your calendar, get a planner, whether it be a digital planner or on paper, and carve out a study plan. A big misconception, and I hear a lot of people preparing for these exams, and they'll say things like, which book should I get, which study material should I use, and all of that is very important. But if you don't carve out the time and come up with a very clear and concise study schedule, it is very hard to pass the exam. Even if you take a prep course or however you prepare for the exam, you have to carve out the time and really be consistent and disciplined. So if it's all you can spare is an hour a day for over a course of several weeks, fine, just pencil it into your planner, but you really have to look at your schedule and commit to like making a plan to study. So if you're thinking about taking the exam, I always recommend somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how long you have in your schedule to study. But you definitely just want to look at your calendar and make sure that you are committed to carve out time every single week. If you have something big going on in your life, plan accordingly and maybe push your exam back. So the biggest absolute tip I have for you on how to pass this is make sure you carve out time to study. You will need time to study. Okay, the second one, if you're not taking a prep class, let's just say you're doing it on your own, which I did. There was only one vendor that offered a prep class, and it looked like it was going to be mostly online, and I wasn't sure, and I couldn't get enough of a preview, so I just decided to prep on my own, prep myself. I'm not making any sense, but I hope you get it. So the first thing I would do in that case is go on HRCI's website. For every exam that they have a course outline, and it's a PDF that's usually somewhere between 10 to 15 pages, and it literally is an outline of everything you're expected to know in order to pass this exam. It is extremely underutilized, and it's extremely helpful. So I went online, I printed that content outline, and then I highlighted every term, every concept that they wanted me to know, and I built my master topic list. So I built a list of topics that I needed to research, study, understand before I even thought about taking the exam. So use that resource. It's free. It's on HRCI's website, and it is extremely helpful, and it's very accurate. Things that were on the exam were things that were in the outline that they expected me to know. So use that. Make a master list of things to study, and as you study them, just tick off, yes, I understand this, I understand that, and go down the list, okay? My next tip for passing PHR California is don't confuse the federal laws with the state laws. So with the PHR California, it is based on the state employment laws, not on the federal laws. They're not going to ask you very much about the federal laws. They really want to make sure that you have mastery and understanding of the state laws, and not the not for each city. So not for the municipalities and city ordinances. Really, what is the state laws? Like understanding the difference between FMLA, which is on the federal level, and CFRA, which is on the state level. What can be used for which? When do they run concurrent, etc., etc. You really have to understand these state laws. And how do you do that? So how do you learn all this stuff if there's not one book and one prep class? You're going to want to, one thing I do recommend is this book. Oh, it's upside down. That is embarrassing. Can you tell I'm new to making videos? It's so embarrassing and I don't know how to flip it. So this is from Cal Chambers. It's called the HR Quick Guide for California employers. I buy every single year because I think it's so good. It outlines pretty much everything you'll need to know for the exam in a really easy to read format. The book with the appendix is a little over 300 pages. And if you use that outline and make your master topics list and then use this book, you really could use this book and cover everything. But some of my other recommendations on how to study for it is use some of the California state government websites, So the DLSC has great resources on there. EDD has great resources on there. The DLSC actually gives a free class on state payroll and labor laws. It's taught by someone from the EDD along in conjunction with someone from DLSC. Both of those are government agencies that make sure that employers follow all the robust labor laws. So those are helpful resources. Another thing I did is I found California employment lawyers' websites, and oftentimes they write blogs or they publish materials for businesses, and it's extremely, extremely helpful. So those are helpful. What I would stray away from is just be very careful about your sources. Be very careful looking at just Wikipedia or Quizlet because you don't want to have old information. You want to have the most current labor law for the year you're taking it. So this is 2023. You want to look at 2023 labor laws. Next year, which is coming right around the corner, the labor laws are going to change again. So whatever you're studying for this year, you're going to need to cross-reference if you don't take your exam until 2024. So keep that in mind. But those are great resources, those government websites, this Cal Chambers book. If you have a Cal Chambers membership, they have tons of resources on their website. You can't access them unless you have a membership with them, but that's okay. If you don't, just purchase the books. Looking at California labor law posters, things like that. Anything related to California and labor law is going to help you. And how do you know what to study? Again, like I mentioned earlier, just use that HRCI guideline as a resource. Know the fines. I have allergies and my eyes are so dry, but know the fines for violating labor laws. So that was something I found was really important for passing the exam is like, what happens if you violate XYZ labor law? You employ a minor without a work permit. There's a fine attached to that. There are tons of fines, obviously, to deter employers from not making smart choices and following labor laws. So you want to understand those. My biggest two, and I know I said 5, and I don't even know what tip I'm on at this point, guys, because I'm just honestly a rambler and I love to talk about it. I could talk about this all day, but I have these 2 study methods that I use, and I'm not going to go into detail on these study and test taking methods. If you're interested, you can look at my website and get more information, but I will say I have a specific method on the way that I study. It's important to know the information, but it's really important, like I referred to earlier, is carving out the time and then using good study techniques. So reading information, creating flashcards, listening to recordings. I used to study all the concepts and then record myself reading the information, and then when I got in my car or I got on the train, I would listen to it over and over because repetition just helps you retain the information, right? And then your test taking techniques. In order to pass any of these credential exams, you really have to curtail your test anxiety. And studies show that the best way to curtail test anxiety is to be prepared. So the more you study, the better you will test take. Is that a way to say it? Or the better you'll fare on the test, because preparation combats test anxiety. But there are specific things you can do to combat test anxiety, right? You know, trusting your first instinct on the first answer and not changing it. There's tons of techniques. I don't even want to get into it. That's for another video. And again, I have resources on my website about that. But those are my tips for passing the PHR California. And honestly, some of those, if you're preparing for PHR or SPHR or the SHRM, some of my test taking tips will be the same. My biggest one is, carving out that time to study, making flashcards. All of those kinds of things will help you, and having a plan will really help you because you'll stick to it. You'll be dedicated, hopefully. But if you want tips from me, free tips on how to pass any of the exams, please go to my website, which will link in the bio here, and I have free tips on there. Happy to help. Reach out to me via email if you want to ask me additional questions. But lastly, I want to let you know about something I have going on from now until the end of this year. So it'll only be available from September through December, because then the labor laws will change again. I have a course with, video lessons, audio lessons, downloadable resources, everything you need. A digital course, everything you need to pass the exam. I am also a teacher for PHR California, so I facilitate classes. If you want to take a class, the schedule is on my website, but if you want to learn the material on your own for half the price, then I recommend my digital course. Again, it's going to be, only good till the end of the year, because I'll redo it when the labor law changes. I do have a 98% pass rate for anyone that takes my course. Not only do you get, if you take the digital course where you watch all the videos and the downloads, you still get a free session one-on-one with just you and I for an hour, and more if you need it, but at least 1 hour where I will assess your readiness. And that is super helpful, because I will course correct you where you need to study if I feel like you're too far off and not ready. If you take my class live, it's a 2-day class, and you get 2 free sessions with me. So either way it goes, I'm just happy to be here. So either take a look at my free materials on my website, or if you are interested in taking a class with me, please go on my website and schedule those as well. Other than that, I hope you found this somewhat helpful, and I will see you in another video. Thank you so much. Bye.